The Trump Organization is under criminal investigation in New York, and we are back with our exclusive panel, Michael Cohen, Jennifer Weisselberg, and Stephanie Wolkoff, all with unique firsthand experience, witnesses. Stephanie, I wanted to turn to you. The question that was raised, again, in fairness, and I think viewers can hear how strongly each of you feel about this, how much of your own lives are invested in it, but the same question to you about responding to some of what the Trump side has said.
Well, I think that since I've been involved in, and cooperating in all three investigations for the last 3 years, speaks volumes. And that as a cooperating witness and someone who has documentation and fact, as in I wrote in Melania and Me, everything is backed up by evidence. I mean, every single word, every quote, and every letter. I have no grievances. I did what I did for the love of my country, and I have no regret. What I do regret is thinking that I could make a difference, in next to them and with them. And I just think that there's so much evidence that points to all of them, and that their words and their, photogenic, artificial acting is now going to catch up to them because they've all tripped over themselves in this deposition. And this civil case in D.C., now knowing that Alan was so intrinsically involved, is going to change things, in my opinion.
Appreciate that response. We're in our kind of final moments here. I'd like to do a quick lightning round since I have each of you live. So in a word or a sentence, if possible, starting with Stephanie, what is the word or subject that investigators asked most about?
Follow the money. If you follow the money, you will get your answers. People need to start following the money.
Jennifer?
Taxes, tax fraud, tax evasion, what was compensated, what was gifts, what are their actual real estate? Yeah.
Taxes. Michael?
What were the perks? Taxes.
Alan Weisselberg.
Which is an interesting answer. Not a complete surprise, but each of you identifying different areas of intrigue. The second question is related. Do you have a sense within your own view of who may have the most criminal exposure here? Would it be the people involved in signing checks like staff? Would it be potentially former President Trump himself? Who has the most exposure in a word or a sentence? Stephanie?
In a word or sentence? Well, this is a very insular group. And I think one go, they all go.
Jennifer?
So the trifecta for me that I know is Alan, Donald, and Barry Weisselberg.
Michael?
All of them. Each and every one of them have culpability and will not be able to escape it. Not with somebody like Mark Pomerantz, as well as now Tish James coming in.
And the last question, I think, is one of the largest ones on everyone's minds. And you all have lived through this, and I appreciate you sharing your own personal experiences. Everyone here is a human being, and some of this is obviously quite difficult for you and your families, including the people on the other end, including the Trump family members. I say that whenever I cover this stuff. But it's extraordinary that we are talking about a criminal probe months after a president leaves office, a serious criminal probe with serious evidence that is really scrutinizing not only what he did, what his company did, but whether his company has been in some sense criminal for years running back. So it's actually pretty extraordinary, even if people are desensitized. My last question in that spirit is, there are, as you all know, agreements that can be made, cooperation agreements, for example, where people admit some kind of wrongdoing, but they completely evade prison. Sometimes those kind of agreements are so controversial because they're considered lenient. I'm curious, given how close you all are, do you ever see a world where if Mr. Trump is facing allegations or any kind of charges for the Trump Org's activities, which we discussed, that he would cooperate under some terms, that he would strike a deal in some way? Stephanie?
I think over the weekend I shared a few tweets that were about Alan, letting him know that I think it's time for him to wake up and realize that this family is going to pretend that it all had to do with Alan and that Alan was in charge of everything and Alan was responsible. And they're all going to flip against Alan. And so everyone needs to realize that eventually they all do flip against you, regardless of who you are or what you mean to them, because you mean nothing to them. And people, I hope, realize that.
That Donald Trump, in a certain situation, might quote unquote cooperate, but only to entirely blame him. Same question, Jennifer.
All right, I'm so scared right now just thinking about it. I mean, if he gets elected again, the power and control they have. that they're hiding their crimes. So because I know about the crimes, I'll never be free as long as they're free, because I know too much. I know way too much. So I just think they all should be responsible. I don't like the gymnastics of it.
Yeah. And I'm over on time, but Michael, same question.
Yeah, I agree with Stephanie 100%. I couldn't have said it any better. They're going to flip. They're going to flip on each other like it's going out of style.
Yeah.
I appreciate each of you sharing with us, and I'll remind viewers, we've had a lot of different guests throughout the course of this, and we have extended and will continue to extend invites to others named here if they want to speak out as well. I think that could be interesting and informative. My thanks to Michael Cohen, Jennifer Weisselberg, and Stephanie Winston Wolkoff. Thanks to each of you.